crunching time! Welcome to my review of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond Unbreakable Episode 10. Let's go eat some Italian food. Oh my god. This episode is just wow. I mean, out of all the episodes I've seen so far in Diamond Unbreakable, this was the most misleading, most bizarre, and funniest episode that I've seen so far in part 4, and I freaking love it. Alright, so the episode actually starts off more of a darker tone, really. We see this mysterious chef chopping up something, and we hear a growl, and there was something inside a cage, but we don't know what it is. It was like something sinister and threatening and evil was going on, something was about to happen. And then we cut to Josuke and Okuyasu. Yeah. Oh, by the way, no opening on this week's episode, surprisingly, for some reason. But yeah, Josuke and Okuyasu, they're heading to the graveyard to visit Keicho's grave. On the way, though, Okuyasu was hungry, and they noticed a sign leading them to this Italian restaurant called Italian Restaurant Trendy, or on the sign it said Trattoria Trendy or something like that, which was run by the chef named Tonio Trussardi. But for some reason, Crunchyroll changed his last name to Trendy, so it's Tonio Trendy in the subtitles. Is this a copyright thing or something? Because, like, why would they change the last name to Trendy? If you're gonna change the last name, why don't you just change it to something Italian? Because Tonio is Italian. And he was actually shown in the opening, so you can tell that he was a stand user, but I'll get to his stand later. So it turns out that his restaurant is actually the 3rd landmark in Morio. His restaurant is a landmark in Morio, yeah. So anyway, Tonio is actually a chef originally from Italy who has traveled around the world studying various cuisines and honing his skills in cooking, and that's how he ended up in Morio. Now, unlike all the previous stand users that we've seen so far, Tonio is actually a stand user who was born with a stand. He didn't get his stand with the bow and arrow, he was actually born with one. Now, the thing is with Tonio, him and his restaurant is a lot different than a vast majority of restaurants. His restaurant doesn't have a menu. He makes dishes depending on the customer, and he can tell what dish to make just by looking at the customer. And in this case, when Josuke and Okuyasu came inside his restaurant, he was able to determine that Okuyasu was suffering from lack of sleep, diarrhea because of bad intestinal walls, athlete's foot, and a stiff shoulder, and 2 cavities. All by looking at his hands. I have no idea how the hell he does it. I have a feeling it's got something to do with his stand, but yeah, he was able to determine like what kind of dishes to make for Okuyasu to technically help him in a way. Because that's what his intention is, to make food for his customers that will help them, rejuvenate them, and in a way heal him. Because that's what his stand is, really. It's kind of like a healing type stand. His stand is called Pearl Jam, although in the subtitles they called it Pole Jam. And his stand is another like Swarm type stand, and it looks like tiny, multiple tomato mutant things. And its stand ability isn't really like mentioned or talked about in this episode, but I was able to at least find out some things about it. Also thanks to Leo Boss for giving me this intel here. Apparently Pearl Jam is like a healing stand similar to like Crazy Diamond, but it works internally on the person. Pearl Jam has to go inside the person when it's mixed within Tonio's food. So when they eat Tonio's food, the person eats Tonio's food, in this case with Okuyasu, Pearl Jam would be able to like fix up the person internally. And when Pearl Jam was inside Okuyasu, the stand was able to cure him with all these anomalies, all these conditions that he was going through. And it works in the freakiest, probably goriest way possible compared to Crazy Diamond. From what I was able to figure out, I think the stand works by getting rid of the anomalies, all the damaged parts of the body, and it replaces it with new parts of the body. Because I remember this one scene when Okuyasu's teeth was like flying out, and when he mentioned that he had cavities, new teeth grew back in place to replace the old teeth. So I think that's how Pearl Jam works. Honestly, the entire majority of this episode is just Josuke and Okuyasu in this restaurant and Okuyasu eating this amazing Italian food, which by the way, have recipes that you can actually make them yourselves, which I thought that was really cool. And every time Okuyasu eats something, like something weird happens to him. Like when he drank water, tears started to like flow out of his eyes to cure his like lack of sleep. When he ate salad, all this dead skin was rubbing off his shoulder to cure that stiff shoulder he had. And when he ate the spaghetti, which was actually too spicy for him, yet even though it was very spicy, he still ate it anyway. I mean, even while he was talking with Josuke, he kept licking the sauce every now and then, which I was like thinking, stop eating the food! Something's very wrong here. In a nutshell, this episode is like Shokugeki no Soma, but instead of food orgasms, food gore. And Shokugeki no Soma came out after Jojo, so maybe that series was inspired by this episode. Or this chapter in the manga. So Josuke knew something was off with Tonio. He knew that he might be a stand user. He was very suspicious, and after what happened with the spaghetti, he decides to summon Crazy Diamond and punch the spaghetti, reverting the ingredients back to its original state, which revealed Tonio's stand to Pearl Jam. Josuke enters the kitchen and he hears chewing sounds. He sees Tonio feeding this puppy the main dish that he was going to serve Okuyasu, this lamb. But when the puppy ate it, its intestines bursted out of its stomach and mouth. It was very disgusting. Censored, but still disgusting. But the thing is with Pearl Jam is that even though all this stuff happens to the person, and they actually feel it happening, by the way. They actually feel it. But in an instance, they would be healed. They would be cured, like nothing bad happened to them. So, okay, that's alright in a way. Even though all this gory stuff happens to them when they eat the stand, at least they'll be healed in an instant. So they wouldn't like feel this pain like for too long. So that's a plus. Tonio then starts getting angry, and there was a lot of red flags on this guy because there was something off with him. Like I thought that he was like an evil stand user because there was like something creepy about him, and he even threw a knife at Josuke, nearly hit his face. Now it seems like there was going to be a fight going on, but Okuyasu then shows up in the kitchen and eats the lamb, and I don't know what the hell was going on with Okuyasu, but it seems that even if he tries a little bit of Tonio's cooking, he can't stop eating. He couldn't resist. And I thought this had something to do with Tonio's cooking itself, or probably because of the stand. Maybe it's a bit of both, who knows. But Okuyasu couldn't stop eating, even though he was kind of aware of all that weird shit happening to him. And when he ate the lamb, his intestines bursted out of his stomach. Again, gross, but censored, but still gross. And before Josuke could do anything, Tonio just comes up right behind him carrying what looked like a brick. It looked like he was about to like slam it onto his head. But it turns out it was just a bar of soap, and the whole reason why he was angry was because Josuke entered the kitchen without washing his hands. This was so misleading. There was so many misleading red flags in this episode that seemed like Tonio was this crazy evil chef, but no, in actuality, he's just a nice guy who wants to make food to help people. So, in a way, Tonio is just a regular stand user who's actually not evil or crazy or insane. He just has very strict hygiene issues and hates germs. Oh my god. And I was expecting some sort of like stand battle, but not really. No, there was no battle at all unless you count the spaghetti punching. And no, Tonio is not evil. He's actually a nice guy, and you know what? I like Tonio. Compared to like all the other stand users that we've seen ever since the end of episode 5, he's the one I like the most, and I actually hope he comes back more, you know, because I think Tonio's cool. But I've been told that we're not gonna see a lot of him in Diamond is Unbreakable, which kind of sucks. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. But maybe they'll add some additional scenes with Tonio because I want to see him again. And honestly, his stand, I gotta say, was actually pretty interesting. Seeing another healing type stand that works differently, even though its ability kind of comes off as gory. But at least it instantly heals the moment like all that gory stuff happens, you know. So, which luckily, surprisingly, the puppy that ate the lamb was okay. So thank God for that. And counting all the dogs that I've seen in Jojo that have actually died, this has got to be the third dog that I've seen so far that didn't die. The first one was the one that Car saved. The second one was Koichi's dog Police. This is the third dog that didn't die. But then I was like thinking, wait, is this really Jojo? Anyway, with Tonio, he was pissed at Josuke, and he forces him to clean his kitchen as punishment, and you see Josuke wearing this cleaning gear, which was hilarious. I don't know why, but the first thing that popped into my head was Levi from Attack on Titan. And with Okuyasu, he just gets to sit back and continue eating his meal. But that's not actually where it ends. No, actually, we get another scene with Jotaro, which we haven't even seen since episode 7 in person and episode 8 during that flashback. He was there to meet up with a member of the Speedwagon Foundation who was there to deliver a message, and of course he couldn't do that with electronics because, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers being an electric type stand and all. And that message was, I should be arriving at Morio's port tomorrow at noon. The episode then ends where we see a boat and this old man on this boat heading to Morio. And it is none other than Joseph Joestar. Oh my god, we're gonna see Joseph Joestar! I'm so happy we're gonna finally see Joseph next week. So, yeah, that was episode 10 of Diamond is Unbreakable. Overall, this was the most misleading, most bizarre, funniest episode that I've seen so far in Diamond is Unbreakable, and I freaking loved it. It was very entertaining, and honestly, out of all the episodes that I've seen so far, I guess since episode 5, this episode had little to nothing to do with the bow and arrow, with Red Hot Chili Pepper, with even Keicho, because at least Keicho was mentioned in episode 6. This had like nothing to do with it, which was really strange. And I'm starting to see now the whole slice of life formula that I'm seeing in part 4. I mean, I am aware that this is the formula that part 4 is taking, and I definitely am seeing this a lot now. This honestly was a lot more laid back in a way, and now that I think about it, I've also noticed that the pacing lately in Diamond is Unbreakable has started to like slow down a bit in terms of like the main plot, which I don't have a problem with that because I understand that we have to establish more of the stand users in Morio, those that got their stands from the bow and arrow. But in this case, Tonio was just a stand user that was born with a stand. I mean, he is originally from Italy after all. And again, don't get me wrong, I do like seeing all the other stand users in Morio. It's just that ever since that whole situation with Keicho, the bow and arrow, and Red Hot Chili Pepper back in episode 5, I was wondering when we were going to see the Red Hot Chili Pepper again, when are we going to see the stand user, when are we going to get back to the whole bow and arrow thing, because that seemed like very important. But it seemed like Diamond is Unbreakable was like taking a bit of like a break from that, from what I could tell. But again, I don't have a problem with that because these past few episodes have been really good lately, but I am really happy that we are getting back to the main plot. And Joseph is coming back, which again is something I'm really happy because I'm curious as to what kind of role he'll play in Diamond is Unbreakable, because part 2, he was the main character. Part 3, he was a supporting character, and part 4, he might be a minor / supporting character. All I know is for sure is that there's gonna be an awkward meeting between him and Josuke, father and son, you know? It's gonna be pretty awkward at the beginning, but who knows what might happen when they meet, you know? I also hope that when Joseph shows up, we'll see him use Hermit Purple again for old time's sake. I know he can't use Hamon anymore because he's much older now. I think, you know, his breathing skills isn't what it used to be. so he can't use Hamon anymore, but I hope we get to see him use Hermit Purple again. Or at least, you know, for old time's sakes, considering that this might be the last part we'll see Joseph, make him go, oh my god, just one more time. Or make him go, oh no, like some sort of like funny yell in English, you know, just for like old time's sake. You know, like what he used to do in Star Wars Crusaders, please, please. But you know, aside from that, I still enjoyed this episode. It was really funny, it was so bizarre. There were times where I had no idea what was going on. I mean, go back to my reaction. You'll see me at the end just laughing my ass off, or me just like going, bruh, I can't even, because like, there was so much going on. I mean, not only with the misleading red flags, but there were sudden shifts in tone. I mean, it would start off as like nice and laid back, and then it would go to funny, and then it would go to like something serious, and then it would go to like something scary or creepy or something crazy. But yeah, the tone kept like going back and forth, which I noticed in this episode, which again, I don't have a problem with it because this episode was really funny and I really liked this episode. I enjoyed it a lot. Animation and artwork, again, was pretty good for the most part. The detailed looks on Tonio's scary face was so good. I mean, it really creeped me out because, like, I thought that he was going to, like, do something insane, like, do something very scary, but no, he didn't, so thank God for that. Okuyasu was so freaking hilarious in this episode. I love him so much. He's so funny. I just love the facial expressions he makes every time he eats the really good food that Tonio makes. And Wataru Takagi, again, kills it as Okuyasu in this episode. His voice acting was really well done because his voice was hilarious and I freaking loved it. As for Tonio, I thought the voice acting was pretty good. I noticed that the voice actor for him, which is Tokuyoshi Kawashima, he did a good job with the Italian words, but I felt like he was like trying to act like a person who's trying to speak Japanese, but in an accent in a way, from what I can hear, but maybe that's just me. But anyway, Tokuyoshi Kawashima, he also voiced Daigo Senguji from Inazuma 11 Go, Klaus Grad from Mobile Suit Gundam 00, and also other various supporting characters from other anime series, like for example Naruto Shippuden, and the 2011 Hunter x Hunter anime. But I believe this is the last stand user we're gonna see in Morio because next week we're getting back to the main plot. Joseph is coming to Morio, and we're finally gonna see Red Hot Chili Pepper again, and hopefully his stand user, which I won't say his name just yet because I only know him from the video games, but I won't say anything just yet. So, tell me guys, what did you think of this week's episode of Diamond is Unbreakable? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think of Tonio and his stand? Honestly, I think his stand is interesting, and Tonio seems a pretty cool character. I kind of liked him a lot more than the other stand users that we've gotten since episode 5 or 6, you know, which is saying much because, you know, the rest of the stand users were either like crazy or insane or doing evil stuff, you know. He's like the only one that didn't do anything evil. And what did you think of Okuyasu? I mean, he's hilarious, but goddamn is he such an idiot, but I love him so much. I mean, there was this one scene when Josuke wanted to have some of Okuyasu's food, even though he said earlier he didn't want any, but Okuyasu was like, no, you can't have this is mine, get your own. I mean, he even goes as far as to like teasing Josuke by like looking like he was going to feed him a piece, but then he was like, nope, just... Okuyasu's kind of a bit of an asshole. But it was funny, you know, and you know, considering the fan base, this is going to be totally shipping fuel for Josuke / Okuyasu. Oh yeah, I'm aware of the fucking pairings in JoJo. I'm aware this is also pairings, apparently. Although, the thing is, when finding out pairings in JoJo, there are some pretty weird ones. I mean, did you know that, like, fans pair up Josuke with Kakyoin? Like, why? I mean, Kakyoin's dead and he died in part 3. Like, why pair up Kakyoin with Josuke? That I don't get, but okay, whatever. I ain't gonna judge your pairings, but anyway, yeah, back on track. There is actually some references in this episode, like for example, Simon and Garfunkel and Ashita no Joe. Ashita no Joe was referenced, which I thought it was hilarious. And there was also a reference to something called Champ. I'm not sure if that means anything. Maybe that's another anime or manga series that is called Champ. Or I thought that was like a reference to Rocky or something. Like, you know, Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, I don't know. Anyway, tell me your thoughts of this episode in the comment section down below. Like the video if you like it, and subscribe for more videos. And be sure to check out my Facebook fan page and Google+. So yeah, that was Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamonds Unbreakable, episode 10. It was just them eating. And then some bizarre shit happened. So much misleading stuff. And it was so funny. Oh man, I'm really liking part 4 so far, but next week we're getting back on track to the main plot, and Joseph's coming back, so yay! Can't wait to see really old Joseph. Oh man, I wonder what he's gonna be like. But again, really looking forward to next week because back to the main plot. This week's episode, great episode. And with that being said, I'm gonna respond 27, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.